Greetings, welcome to Common Truth. So today I'm just in this episode, it's gonna be quite short, but I'm gonna be talking about the psychology behind our motivation. So as you might know, the motivation that we have in our lives is something that keeps on coming and going. It might not be something that's there all the time, but then sometimes you get a random surge of it. You might not be sure what causes that, and that's perfectly fine because the majority of us actually don't know where that surge of motivation comes from. And there's actually a lot of psychology that underlies this kind of emotion or this actuality that exists within our lives, because it's very common. It's fairly common for us to encounter motivation, or to, whether it's you're just a student and you're going to school, you maybe have motivation to do your best at a sport or achieve good grades or such. But if you're working, then you might have a lot more motivation to kind of strive a lot harder, maybe try and get that raise that you want, or various different things, like try and make the most out of your time. Productivity is definitely something that influences work, because we want to get the most work done. That's something that's part of human nature. We don't want to just sit around idly, especially if we have interests, because as humans we all have interest in something. That can be anything. You can have interest in a sport, you can have interest in academics, you can have interest in music. All these types of domains all exist under the same basis. They exist on the plane of thinking that there's going to be interest from someone somewhere. So if you have an interest, then you're going to pursue it, and that's just natural how we work. Because if we have something that we actually want to do, of course we'll strive to achieve it. That's just human nature. That's common sense, that of course we'll just go towards it. However, the thing that most people lack is having a consistent source of motivation to be able to do it. Because we all have aspirations, but not all of us are able to achieve it. Some people just forsake their dreams and then just settle for something lower than that. And that's actually the majority of the time how it goes. When some successful people talk on various TV shows or write in books and such, they always say that they never stop pursuing their dream. But then certain people wonder how they actually have this steady source of motivation to be able to do it, because it's obvious that their journey is not just successes upon successes. They're always going to have some type of downfall, some hurdle that's obstructing them from moving to the next level. But however, this is the psychology that we need to understand, is that motivation that will not always exist. That's just the fact. We can't there's a finite amount of motivation. Just think about it like energy, except just a lot less than energy, because we're still able to fulfill all the things that we want using the energy that we've been provided by this earth. But motivation is just based off something else. It's an unknown entity, unknown presence that we actually don't know, but it's a conditional thing. It doesn't always come, and there's no way to kind of sustain it. Yes, it is true that if you take your interests and then align it with your passion, then you might be able to utilize it to a greater extent when given it. Except not all the time do we get motivation. It's kind of a variable in our society, because you might have motivation at a certain time on a certain day, but then the next day it might just disappear. For example, if you want to write a book, that's going to be a very long endeavor. It's not going to be something that you can finish in a day or even a week or a month. Generally it takes around half a year to write a book, and you need to sustain yourself that entire time. And I've had this problem as well, because after writing around 30-40 pages, you actually get tired and you start to think about what I need to write about, and then you might get writer's block. And that's just a very annoying premise, because once you don't know what to write, you kind of just lose the touch of writing every day. It's a habit that just kind of fades into oblivion, and then once that happens, it just becomes harder to regain it once again. So yeah, that is the thing that we need to understand, because a lot of people, there's just a lot of depictions in our society when we're developing, in our youth. We always view movies or look at TV shows, and we just discern certain aspects of the work life, because a lot of movies and such are depicted as a lot of stress and stuff. But that puts a seed of thought into our mind that this is how our life's going to be. So we try to avoid that, but that puts another pressure on us upon already trying to fulfill all the superficial tasks that are provided to us on a daily basis. Because not all the time that we're forced to do a lot of things that we don't actually want to do, except we know that it might be beneficial to just keep in mind and just continue doing it while we also just do our thing simultaneously, whatever we want to do simultaneously. Obviously, this may include just being content with going to school, because that's just something that if you're in a country where that's developed, like the United States where I am, then of course that's basically a necessity, or a requirement that's just put upon you. And the majority of people that I talk to don't enjoy this, because it takes a lot of time away from things that they consider to be valuable to them. However, it's just something that everyone does, regardless of it, because they know that they might face consequences, it might affect their future, or there might be some force that's withholding them to be able to do that. However, not everyone has the motivation to do this, and as such, people fall behind. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, because in some things, not everyone needs to be ahead. But then when you're pursuing your own passion, you generally want to be in a state of like bliss, where you're constantly getting fed like a kind of like motivation, or like a motive, or like an end goal. You want to be able to picture that end goal and just move continuously towards it until you reach it. But that's not always going to happen. So that just needs to be something that you keep in your mind, because I think when you're forming a habit, it won't just take like a short amount of time. Some people, science basically says that 21 days is it, but like even after 21 days, you're able to lose motivation, and you're able to lose habit by just like skipping 1 or 2 days. That just happens. And obviously we're not going to be available all of the time, and because of that, it's very common that people just lose track of their habits. Something that you might be doing for years might be lost because of something that you skipped for 1 week, because you might have been busy, or like might have not been able to do that, and then you can't find the motivation to restart that. Because the thing is, inception is the hardest part of life. It's not the other portions that are harder, because continuing it is just seamless. But then in the beginning, we have like a lot of anxiety while trying to start it. So that's like precisely the reason why a lot of people fail at their motivation, and that's something that we need to keep in mind. So even sometimes when you might not enjoy all the long, breathtaking, like painstaking hours that you need to put in, you still need to put in all of that work, because it is necessary for you to until you reach a certain point, then you'll get just motivation again, and you'll be able to just continue it whilst also being fulfilled within you. Because otherwise you might just become complacent. You might just be like nothing that's dealt to you. Even motivation later on, if it is dealt to you and you might have it, you might not do anything with it at all, because you're just complacent that it'll go away eventually. It's like the whole premise of nothing matters, so why should I do anything at all? So yeah, that's just something that I was expressing. If you want to read the article that I wrote about it on the Common Truth publication on Medium, then you can click the link in the description. It'll lead you to it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that episode. And tomorrow, and this is also available on Spotify. Leave a comment down below if you have any specific topic that you want us to talk about. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode.